Hello, we're on the Brittany coast for the finish of stage 5. Nice for us, but then we only have to stand here and look at the view. For the riders, the coast doesn't mean scenery, it means crosswinds, and crosswinds mean the chance of splits in the field. Alberto Contador doesn't need reminding of that. It took him all his strength to claw back 8 seconds on Andy Schleck with his late attack yesterday. But in 2009, he lost 41 seconds without even trying, caught on the wrong side of a split in the field when the crosswinds blew an otherwise routine flat stage apart. So what are the challenges that teams face riding in crosswinds? We've assembled a two-man team to demonstrate.
The most feared of all weather conditions and a regular in the Tour de France, crosswinds. But why is it any different to the normal flavour of airflow? The answer is space.
Is it?
Yeah. Come on. Be it headwind, tailwind or no wind at all, the influence of the airflow on the riders is in their direction of travel, meaning there's an infinite amount of space for them to get shelter behind each other. Now, when the wind comes from the side, well, suddenly there's only enough shelter for 8 or 9 riders. And should the lead rider, in this case me, choose not to use all of that space, well, now there's only enough room for just one rider to get shelter. The others might be physically close, but are having to push the wind to stay where they are. And should the lead rider choose to accelerate, well, that's when all hell breaks loose.
They just turned into a crosswind, and now the team time trial has arrived a day early. This is Team Columbia HTC. They realise they've got a split, and now you see the dangers because Cancellara was ready. He's up here.
Knew this was going to happen in these crosswind, a diagonal line of riders trying to shelter from the wind in a diagonal line across the road.
Those lines are called echelons, and if you don't manage to fight your way into the first one, the best you can hope for is to form another one as quickly as possible and pray that yours is collectively strong enough to stay with the leaders. Many a GC rider has been caught out by either not being close enough to the front when somebody tries to exploit the weather conditions, or by getting caught up in the crashes that often ensue.
This is a big split, and there will be serious alarm bells, Phil, ringing behind.
Nobody wins the Tour de France when the wind blows from the side, but there's always going to be those that lose it.
Right, let's take a look at today's route and see just how exposed to the wind it is. Not too bad to start with, 164.5 kilometres setting out from Carhaix. The intermediate sprint comes up after 70 kilometres, but then pretty much the last 80 of the race are along the coast, and that's where things could get dangerous. It'll be hard work for the sprinters teams to control things, and even when they get to the finish, it's actually slightly uphill. Nonetheless, Mark Cavendish and the rest of the green jersey contenders will be up for this one. Now there's this morning's rollout, a good point at which to recap the overall standings. Tour Hussoft still has the yellow jersey after that great ride up the Mur de Bretagne yesterday. Cadel Evans is second, 1 second behind him. Frank Schleck is now up to third at 4 seconds. David Miller slips to fourth at 8. Bradley Wiggins moves into 6th place on the same time as the man ahead of him, Andreas Kluden. They're both 10 seconds down. And Brad's Sky teammates Geraint Thomas and Edvald Boasson Hagen are another couple of seconds back in 7th and 8th. Andy Schleck is with them on 12 seconds back. He's 9th. Robert Geesink is 17th. Ivan Basso over a minute down, 1:03 and 23rd. Alberto Contador remains a minute 42 down overall. Now, though, just a minute 30 behind his big rival, Andy Schleck. Mark Cavendish was practicing his headbutt technique on Bradley Wiggins in advance of the intermediate sprint early on. Well down in the green jersey rankings coming into this stage, Mark, although really the green jersey rankings have barely got started, especially with all the uphill finishes we've had. Jose Joaquin Rojas leads with 82 points. The Garmin pairing of Tour Hussoft and Tyler Farrar are 4th and 5th. Mark Cavendish is down in 12th on 34 points, having been Doc 10, remember, on stage 3. Now then, 4 men in today's breakaway. Sebastian Turgot of Team Europe Car, Jose Ivan Gutierrez of Movistar, Anthony de la Place of Soursogeson, and Tristan Valentin of Cofidis. As we join commentary, they have 105 kilometres left to race and a lead of 5:51.
And a crash at the back. Well, there's a bit of a crash here, and this is what happens on these nasty little roads.
Well, one of the riders delayed there was Sky's Zabio Zandio, but he's not injured. There's Cofidis is down. There's a massive tangle, but I think it's just that, Paul. But look how narrow the road is just here.
Well, Phil, that is what Brittany is all about. The rider there, that's Christian Knies of Team Sky, went down there. That's in fact Sybel Chavanel
getting back on his bike, isn't it?
It is Bradley Wiggins.
There is Wiggins. I thought he was. He got back on his bike, but obviously it was a bit bent. He's got off it again. Now, unfortunately, nobody injured. It's a very narrow road, as you can see, to pack in 190 cyclists. Somebody's touched the wheel, maybe off the edge of the tarmac, and it has to be a new bike for Brad. Well, this isn't what you want to see, but the adrenaline will flow. The race isn't full on, so they should all get back quite safely. This is Sébastien Turgot, the most tattooed man in the Tour de France. It helps us identify when he goes out on the attack, and he's had a whole series of places in the top 6 last year in his first tour, but he hasn't won a stage yet, but he's not afraid to attack either.
Well, they're getting away now from the narrow roads onto the slightly larger roads. 6 minutes over the main field, and a further minute back to that group currently containing Bradley Wiggins. But I think looking at the front of the peloton, I think they'll catch up quite quickly. It looks as if Levi Leipheimer was one of those riders involved.
Yeah, you're right, and he's got to get back into the pack. A little bit of moment. Lawrence Tendam is here too from Rabobank. Anthony Charteau, Sylvain Chavanel, all still having to work pretty hard. This is the Wiggins group. There he is.
Jaroslav Popovic in there, and they should get themselves back. They did spend a lot of time at the side of the road, but you can see how serious Team Sky have taken this. Almost all of the team have come back. Even Geraint Thomas, the best young rider, has dropped back to pace Wiggins in. A little bit of panic on board the Sky train. Now 400 meters to go to the sprint point. It's De La Place in first place in the white jersey, Sojasun. Then it's Sébastien Turgot tucked in at the back there. It's Jose Ivan Gutierrez, and that's where we are, almost halfway through the course.
Well, it looks as though there's no big effort, and as I said that, of course, there is. Sébastien Turgot launches at the front, and he's a pretty good sprinter, actually, Turgot. I doubt very much Gutierrez can sprint. Basically, though, he's conceded that one. Turgot is going to take the points, fittingly enough, in the colours of green, but that's his team strip of Europe car. But he gets the sprint anyway, ahead of Valentin.
While at the back there's a bit of action here. That's Sean Yates, a former yellow jersey wearer in the Tour de France, having a quick chat with his man Bradley Wiggins. Well, you can see Wiggins back on his original machine. Bit of panic on board, and that can happen at any time, but you have to stay nice and calm. He didn't look too panicked himself when he was at the side of the road waiting for his car to come up to him and give him a spare machine. He rode on that machine, got himself back into the pack, back into contact with the Tour de France, and then decided he wanted to go back to his original bike.
1 kilometre to go here. The green jersey is the 1, 2, 3, 4th man down the line. Rojas, he wants these points to keep it. I've noted that Cavendish is right in there. Man with the black top to his shoulders is Philippe Gilbert, who can pack a punch as well. That's Gilbert's well, I wasn't his former teammate actually making the move at the moment. Gilbert moving across the line now. They've lost Cavendish here a little bit. He's wandering around.
Well, that's Matty Gossard right in front. He's riding alongside the green jersey of Rojas, waiting for the moment. There's Cavendish down to 3rd place.
Rojas has got a great lead out here, and Cavendish is just holding. He's waiting just a little bit here, and that's Bonan on the second wheel now, and here comes Mark Cavendish, moved over to the left of the road by Bonan. Oh dear, he was chopped out of it too, and he's objected to that. Bonan has wandered off to the other side of the road now. Cavendish is not having that, and quite honestly, he did move a bit, Bonan, there.
Well, that was Felu got himself across the line in first place. Inside of the top 3 was Rojas. There's Tom Bonan moving across, but in fact it's Rojas is making the move across the line. Now look at the move by Felu over on the right-hand side. That's a big acceleration for him. Even big Tom Bonan's rocking and rolling there, and on the line the lunge gives it to Felu just ahead of Bonan, and no points at all there for Mark Cavendish. He's not happy.
He's very disgusted, quite frankly, with all that movement on the road. I think he has a legitimate complaint there against Tom Bonan, and probably...
Oh, dear me,
now this is a nasty crash. And this has only just happened. It looks like a Radio Shack rider is on the floor there. Robert Hessink, one of the leaders of the Tour for Paris. is number 41.
Well, Hessink is there. Hessink is in real pain on the left-hand side of the road. These are those silly little crashes that happen at the back end of the main field. But I have to say, the Radio Shack rider who went down there is looking in serious difficulty.
It's Brakovic, Paul. It's Yanni Brakovic who's down on the road there. Looks as though he may have hit his head. And it's happened there to the right of our picture, you see, and a nasty fall that. Now it also looks as though Hessink, who crashed out of his last Tour de France with a broken wrist, is also in a little bit of pain. But Brakovic here, in his second Tour de France, and one of the 4 riders on Radio Shack they were talking of as a possible win overall. He looks as though he has been quite seriously stunned, but he is conscious, okay.
The Contador's down as well.
Well, what's going on here? This has happened just now, further up the road with our cameras engaged down the back. This is Alberto Contador on the floor now.
Well, these crashes are because of the nervousness of the main field. Contador doesn't look to be panicked at all. He's just checking himself out. He doesn't have any physical injuries, and it's right at the front end of the main field. You can just see there.
Yeah, it's almost on the tail, actually. How on earth are these crashes happening? You can see the race is hardly ripping along the road here. He looks okay. He's got his bike sorted. No, he hasn't. That's why he's stopped now. Well, Contador is okay.
He is ripped up, though, Phil. He waited for the new bike to be brought up alongside him. Racing in Brittany is always extremely nervous because of the way the roads are. Normally, we've been on narrow roads up until this point, but what a day we've had. So
we're seeing here one of the favoured men here, Brakovic, in the Radio Shack team, and one of the young men of the future. He's 28 years of age at the end of the year.
And of course, this is going to be the second abandon of the Tour de France. And you know, this is one special race. It's a race that nobody wants to abandon. No professional bike rider wants to either get into the vehicle at the back of the course or get into the ambulance.
There's no way he wanted to stop. And it happens so quickly on what is, for the long-term candidates, a stage which doesn't really matter to them. And then suddenly you're out of the Tour de France.
Yep, but this man, Alberto Contador, it does matter to him. Thumbs up sign to the spectators. Obviously, that's to the Spanish spectators to let them know I'm okay and I'm fine. The team doctor of Radio Shack there, Dr. Salaya, is putting Yanni Brakovic into the wagon. As you can see, the team car stopped over on the right-hand side. This is allowing these riders to get themselves back into contact with the main peloton quite quickly, I would expect. So you can see all of this action, all of this excitement has had a major effect on the time gap. The time gap had started to creep up to around about the 6-minute margin, but now because of all of this acceleration, all of this chasing, we've come down to the 3-minute mark, and we're looking now at 50 miles to go to the finish, or 80 kilometers. And the speed really is quite dramatic. Alberto Contador very quickly will scuttle around the outside to look for the teammates to pace him up to the front end of the main field. And the reason that he would want to do that, he would want all of the other guys in this race, all of the other contenders to know, I, Alberto Contador, I'm back in the pack and I'm back in the race.
Well, this race is really pulling at high speed now, and you get good shots of this peloton. You get some appreciation that they are now riding in excess of 50 kilometers an hour here, and so too, of course, are these 4. Although they were at one stage 6 minutes ahead with 100 kilometers to go, so in 24 kilometers, that gap has come down to 2 minutes and 11 seconds.
Somebody else has gone down.
There's another crash in
That's Nicky Sorensen, the champion of Denmark, a Saxo Bank rider. That's all because of the pressure. Look what riders are getting spat out of the back because we've picked up this crosswind.
Yes, and I hope that that little child down there wasn't involved. Maybe he's a bit close to the road and they didn't keep an eye on him there.
The motorbike cameraman there, in fact, was trying to get by, and Nicky Sorensen just, he touched the wheel of somebody in front of him. He's very lucky to get that soft landing.
Maybe his panniers has clipped the side of Nicky, and Sorensen went down and fortunately missed all the spectators. And Nicky Sorensen looks as though he's okay.
It'll be interesting to read some of the riders' blogs this evening, Phil, because I tell you what, there'll be a lot of stories going out there because we cannot see every incident that has happened. And I will say there's been a lot of incidents, and this has been one of those unpredictable days once again. Oh, another crash at the back. Here we go again. Everybody's going down the narrow roads, and it looks to me as if that rider from Rabobank there was Martin Gilingi.
Well, he wasn't too happy with the way that happened either. Let's see if we can work this one out. Dead centre of our picture here. A little bit of swerving at the bottom. Julingi went in the ditch.
Oh, nice landing by the Soja Sun rider.
This is Tom Bonan.
Oh, that's Bonan
Also
lying
in
down.
the centre of the road here. Now, this isn't looking good, the way Tom is sitting here. Let's hope he's not broken his collarbone. All the quick-step boys must have been riding together and got caught on that one.
Yeah, well, Addy Engels was down, Gert Stegemans, Tom Bonan seems to be the right. And again, it was 2/3 of the way down the main field. You have to ride at the front end of the pack. Well, that's Stegmans riding away. Bonan is up. The doctors, that's Wilfred Peters. Give me the helmet, get me the bike, and let me get back on with it. He's another one of the tough characters of the sport, former winner of Paris-Roubaix and the Tour of Flanders, and of course a former world champion. Well, maybe he's not.
They've sat him down again here now. You may recall in 2009 George Hincapie breaking his collarbone. He refused to tell the doctors because he didn't want them to pull him from the race, and he did finish the race with that broken collarbone.
Well, Bonan is up. He's in pain and he is going to ride on, but the big question now is will he be able to catch back to the main field, or could he get himself eliminated, because the main field is on fire, approaching paces of around about 50 kilometers per hour.
At 1.25 minutes, that is not a big enough advantage now to hold off the peloton once we get onto the highway to Affiniac, home of Bernard Hinault, the 5-time winner of the Tour de France, who's still on the race as a part of the organisation. He knows what they're going into.
A long way down at the back of the race is Tom Bonan, trying to keep himself in the Tour de France. You know, as I said earlier, Phil, despite these crashes that have happened left and right, nobody wants to abandon the Tour de France. It is the biggest and the best and the most important.
Yeah, well, this is Tom is going to earn himself a lot of friends here, particularly in Belgium, with the way he's fighting his way back into this Tour de France and finishing as best he can today. Look at the way he's just laying that right arm onto the handlebars, because he's clearly in pain from his shoulder, and he'll no doubt be off for an x-ray as soon as he reaches the finish. Let's hope it's not as serious as it appears.
Well, they're stretched out into a long line. They're not really chasing as we look at these riders, and I think what's happened is that the breakaway of 4 riders have said that we'll call it a day. They know how difficult the run is going to be to the finish, and they know that the main field have been playing with them.
Yep.
So there they are. They look over the shoulder. Well, that's it. Look, he said, look at your back, look behind. It's all over, mate. It's not even worth trying to continue with this today. We've tried. We got that 6-minute advantage, but there's obviously been a major battle, and later on they'll get a chance to figure out what's been happening in the Tour this afternoon. But it has been an incredible day of racing, with an awful lot going on, whether it's been the chasing, the crosswinds, or the accidents that have marred this early part of the race. But fairly shortly, it'll be eyes down and get on with the race.
Tom Bonan has gone back to the ambulance, and I think he's put one of those freezing sprays on, and Tom said, I need more than that, I'll do it myself. And he's also got a nasty hematoma on his right leg as well, I think.
Well, a quick calculation, judging by the length of the race today, Phil, 160 kilometres, probably will be covered in about 4 hours. The elimination time could be as low as just 18 minutes, and he's already lost 6. Échappée terminée, as they say. The breakaway is over and done with. It's still Dave Zabriskie at the front, but you can see the organisation now starting to come. Team BMC racing, that's Marcus Burkhardt in second position in the black and red jersey there, pacing Cadel Evans to the front. Cadel Evans in second place overall, is the best place so far of all of the pre-race favourites, and he's very comfortable with his position. He was very happy to win that stage yesterday. And I think probably tactically, he was probably fairly happy that Thor Hushovd managed to stay in the overall leader's jersey, because that means the team Garmin-Cervelo are the team that will do the majority of the pacemaking for the next couple of days.
Well, it's not often that the Tour de France, with its ridiculously tight schedule and its many, many kilometres of, frankly, sitting in a car and driving, ever allows you the opportunity to stop and take stock of where you are. But today, at Cap Fréhel seems like a golden opportunity. We're at an extremely pointy bit of France in the top left-hand corner that sticks out into the English Channel, and at its very tip boasts that, the Fort La Latte, dating back to the 14th century. It's not bad, is it? The castle's not bad, the coastline's exceptional. Here's where the Atlantic Ocean gets funneled into the channel and rips chunks off France in the process, leaving spectacular cliffs. One of the two lighthouses still works and can be seen from over 100 kilometres away, so they tell me. The other is 17th century, so the bulb was blown. But it's the fort which sticks out furthest. They're mighty proud of it here, with some justification. For centuries it housed the Goyon family before it fell into disrepair in the 19th century. Now it's been restored and has become a focal point for medievalists, with its arrow slits and its turrets. You'll have seen it in action in the original version of the Three Musketeers, always supposing that you've seen that, I hasten to add. There's an oblique reference to cycling too. A stuffed badger nods towards Bernardino, Mr. Brittany, when it comes to the Tour de France. Of course, there's nothing like being given preferential access by the local tourist authority to all their historical monuments to curry favour. The fact of the matter is, though, frankly, they needn't have bothered, because I've got a personal preference for Brittany. So much so that, in fact, exactly a week ago, I parked my own car about 100 kilometres down the road there at a campsite, fully intending, as soon as the Tour de France is over, to have a family holiday here. I hope it's still there.
Now this is a little move going clear now. That's in second position there is Thomas Voeckler. Voeckler likes a move like this. And look at this,
taking to the greenery here to make the move. That is a good move, because Thomas Voeckler will spoil the show. He's just the quality of man who could ride away from this race and win the day and spoil it for the sprinters.
Well, this is an ideal position for Thomas Voeckler to find himself in. Jeremy Watt is the other rider. It's 138, the aggressive rider who was in the breakaway yesterday, and what a great move, but they caught everybody unawares. Now this is really going to set the race on fire. We join Tom Bonen at the back with his teammate up alongside him, trying to keep himself in the Tour de France, the Arrière de la Course, and his time gap starting to stretch out. He's 8 minutes, he's got about 12 minutes in hand to keep himself in the Tour.
There's the 20 kilometres to go, 12 miles to the finishing line now. And look at the speed of little Tommy Voeckler here as he piled it on. He started winning in February, and now he's got a total of 8 wins. His last win came when he won the Dunkirk 4-day in May.
Very shortly we will see the banner that these riders have just gone under, the 20 kilometres to go banner. We'll get an exact time spot, and it should be just around the corner here. Oh, Euskaltel has gone down as well. Somebody went down very hard from Euskaltel. This was at the back of the pack. The rider who went down there from Euskaltel. That did not look very good at all. And the gap is 1 minute. Now there's going to be a little bit of an alarm bell start to ring here. These are the two riders who are sharing the pacemaking here, using a huge gear. Thomas Voeckler looks over to Jeremy Watt, who's pedaling a slightly smaller gear. They're talking to each other, communicating, making sure that they work well together. Now this could be the big surprise this afternoon.
Rejoining these riders, Paul, who have been in all sorts of trouble. Kirienko is at the back. He's now off the back here as this group. It may have been disturbed by the crash of the two Euskaltel riders, but this has turned out to be a very aggressive day, and I don't think unexpected, Paul. I think the riders were told by management this was going to be a tough day. There's Ivan Velasco as the Euskaltel rider we saw lying in the gutter there below the barriers, but let's hope he's up and away.
Big American Danny Pate, former under-23 champion of the world, was the man doing that big turn there. Now it's the turn of Lars Bak. You can recognize him. He's got the Danish championship bands around his jersey there. He's a former champion of his country. They're getting themselves organized.
These two boys, they know what they're capable of, and despite the speed of the race at 15 kilometers to go, Roy and Voeckler are pulling out a lead of something like 67 seconds. That is a fantastic piece of riding by those two. Now let's see if they can hold on. Polka dot jerseys, Cadel Evans. Contador just in front of Cadel Evans. The big boys know this is dangerous, and they're trying to keep up here just to survive.
Well, Nicky Sorensen, a nasty crash. He got himself back into the main field, but the pressure now is seeing him eliminated from the peloton today. He'll have to ride to the finish on his own.
They're 14 kilometers out now. Take a look at the pain on these. These are desperate escapees here, knowing that the pace behind will be flat out now. It's a question of can they survive, and this again is the Lithuanian man on Garmin Cervelo, Navadauskas, who is setting the pace.
Well, they've waited their turn, Team Garmin Cervelo, to come to the front. They've done a lot of work out on the course this afternoon, Phil, and they can't destroy themselves, because don't forget, the Tour de France is 3 weeks long. These are all individual stages, and it's almost like riding a one-day classic every day for 3 weeks, or running a marathon every day for 3 weeks, if you like. You've got to be careful how you use your energy.
Well, just caught a glimpse there, the black jersey of the champion of Switzerland, Spartacus himself, Fabian Cancellara, also right. There he is, look at him licking his teeth, those big legs pumping like pistons, as he also tries to keep his Leopard Trek boys up front. And primarily, we're talking of the Schleck brothers long term. Everybody looking at who is coming, who is working. They're working out who is serious for the win today, who is serious for simply surviving it.
Well, they've got a little bit of tailwind here, and that's why we've got speeds approaching 40 miles an hour. Now you can see George Hincapie on the right-hand side in about 4th or 5th position in his red and black jersey, as Jeremy Roy comes to the front, keeping the pace nice and high. They're swapping turns to perfection, these two riders, and they've got themselves locked in at that 1 minute advantage. But the difficult thing is, it's easy to make the first attack, it's easy to build up the lead, but then the most difficult part of a breakaway like this is actually conserving it on the run into the finish.
The stage to Cap Friel has long been heralded as one for the sprinters, but with this rugged coastal terrain and blustery winds and the threat of showers, I think it's going to be much more difficult for them to keep control than it first appears. You see, sprinters love corners because it strings out the bunch, pins everybody in place, makes it less crowded at the front, giving them plenty of space to do their work. Well, there aren't any on the closing kilometres of today's stage. Instead, we've got these sweeping bends and fast roads, so there's always going to be a danger of getting swamped, and it gets even worse. At 3 kilometres to go, there is this short, sharp incline, and that's going to give anybody who doesn't want it to end in a mass gallop a chance to attack. It's fast after as well, which is going to give them an even better chance of staying away. If that doesn't work, well, there is this, a final short, sharp ramp with just 800 metres to go, offering a great chance for an early push for victory. If somebody does that, it's going to make it very difficult for the likes of Farrar and Cavendish to time their effort. So, as well as the sprinters, there are real opportunities here for the power men as well, like Cancellara or Gilbert. But it's not a forgiving finish, so no matter who you are or how you intend to deliver your effort, you're only going to get one shot. Stage 5 is going to be won or lost on timing.
10 kilometres it says up there. They've just got about 26 seconds left of their advantage. The wind has changed direction. Everything's against the two Frenchmen now because the peloton has also speeded up.
25 seconds the advantage. Fortunately, the roads are extremely twisty for the breakaway, so currently they're not in the sight of the main field. But once those roads start to straighten up, the peloton will have their prey in sight.
Shoulder to shoulder, they've shared the work bit by bit. Jeremy Roy is about as fast as he can pedal at the back here. Voigtler knows if they can drive on, there's always a chance. The peloton has been disrupted on at least 10 occasions with accidents today. Now, he knows that could happen at any moment because the finish, and look at that down there as they try to go on the inside, the finish is also extremely precarious.
That was a bad call for the guys who decided they were going to go the right way round that roundabout. They all of a sudden saw it was a long way round, so they cut to the left to make sure they didn't lose too many places, but a lot of them lost at 15 to 20 places.
We go back to the dangling tongue here of Thomas Voigtler, a familiar sight for him. At the front of the peloton, we caught a glimpse there of the American TJ Van Garderen. He's really just the workhorse today, and there he is as long as he can. He's getting his first experience in the Tour de France. I'd love to find out what he thinks of it now. Cadel Evans in the polka dot jersey, the winner yesterday, is up behind his two teammates there as they protect him. And Leopard Trek on the left are looking after the Schlecks. This is life at the back, and believe me, it's hurting. They have led for 25 kilometres. They're inside 7 kilometres from the finish. They lead by just 18 seconds. They will not give up until they feel the tornado coming up behind them of the peloton.
A lot of riders suffering at the back. This is Daniel Navarro, one of the climbers on Team Saxo Bank. He'll be called in to help out his teammates Alberto Contador in the mountains, but he's not being very much help on the flat stages. This is Gerard Bolle, the Slovenian national champion, sitting at the front doing this pacemaking. He's thinking about Alessandro Petacchi.
As they continue, he knows they're coming, but can he see them? This is the best part of the course today, is they're out of sight for much of it. They're only short straights, but very shortly, and I think we saw them there, didn't we? They're right there behind them now, and his team BM for Cadel Evans bringing on the drive. Bradley Wiggins is being brought up to the front. That means Geraint Thomas is there. Ben Swift will be there. They're going to have a go today.
Peter Velits is the rider on the front for HTC High Road, followed by Tony Martin. Two riders with big firepower. They're working for their man Mark Cavendish this afternoon. Velits, third overall in the Vuelta a España. Tony Martin, one of the best time trialists in the world. You can see the line now of HTC High Road over on the left-hand side. If Thomas Voeckler were to look over his shoulder, he would now be able to see the front end of the peloton.
He's seen them, but he won't give up. He's just going again here, and that was a little bit of a bunny hop by the man behind on the motorbike there. Lost his drinking bottle. That's rolled safely off the course, thankfully, as the two leaders. He keeps on looking over his shoulder now, Thomas Voeckler, but it's still a gap, and he won't give up with a gap like that. We're looking for 4 kilometres to go. There we now see the exposed roads as we head up towards the finish at Cap Friel. Suddenly we'll dive into the sand dunes. We'll duck and dive, quite literally, because in the far distance you can see the lighthouse. The finish is to the right of that picture in the dunes, and look how the road kicks as we go towards them.
A big sweeper now. They're onto the coast and they're still getting battered by the wind. Vacansoleil trying to move themselves to the front end. You can see the wind battering those flags there just behind the riders. There's Matty Goss in third position, but look at the battle behind.
Inside 4 kilometres to go. Take your hat off to the strength of these two men. The whole pack is throwing everything at them, and they won't give up. But there's a big sigh of I think that was the surrender there. He took a deep breath.
Well, Phil, this is 3.5 kilometres to go, and driving in this morning, this is a slight ramp, a slight uphill, and when you've been battering for 20 kilometres, that little climb out of Friel feels like a mountain.
It's quite clear that Team Sky are in the mix today, and they'll be looking for Edward Boyson Hagen, their man from Norway, to try and lead out Ben Swift, who's riding his first Tour de France, and it could be a finish. He never gives up, does he? He's going to have another go. You can have Jeremy Roy, but I'm staying out here.
He has got a heart of gold and a courage of steel as Thomas Voeckler. He sees this as the last chance. This is that horrible little ramp at about 3 kilometres to go. He's got himself about 50 metres advantage. It's actually Vacansoleil come to the front now. They've got a very good sprinter, the Frenchman Romain Felu, although he's not very friendly with Mark Cavendish currently. Cavendish has dubbed him a kamikaze rider.
Well, that's the ramp approaching the finish, in fact, that Chris Boorman, the great British cyclist who has ridden in yellow in the Tour de France, said that anybody with the strength could actually fool the sprinters on that ramp and get away for the goal finish.
I just noticed, in fact, we mentioned Romain Felu, Phil. He's actually locked on the wheel of Mark Cavendish. Now, that could be a little bit of fun.
Well, there's going to be a lot of fun if they do sweep up Thomas Voeckler, but he's never going to give up. They'll have to race all the way to his back wheel. This is Jeremy Roy now. His effort was made. He's out the back. A lot of riders, you noted there, have given up now. They've just dropped off the back. They'll ride the last 2 kilometres in alone. They're leaving this to the sprinters now.
Right, it's HTC High Road in control. The Vacansoleil have swung over. They're leaving Romain Felu up to his own devices to follow the wheel of Mark Cavendish this afternoon. Everybody now trying to get themselves organised. There's a number of riders to the left-hand side of Garmin Cervelo. I've noticed the yellow jersey of Thor Hushovd is not very far away. I wonder if again today he will be making the sacrifice in the lead out for his teammate Tyler Farrar, the American.
It's all over. Inside 2 kilometres to go for Thomas Voeckler as the Lamprey team take over, looking for Alijet, Alessandro Petacchi. They're now moving up. The yellow jersey of Thor Hushovd, the green jersey of Rojas is on the right. Well positioned here. We've also got Tyler Farrar in the mix here. Bottle has gone wild in the centre of the pack.
4th position in that line on the luminescent bicycle is Alessandro Patacchi, nicely locked into the wheel of the HTC train. They've got themselves going now. They really are picking up some speed. The next banner they'll see, there it is, 1,000 metres to go, and it's Alessandro Patacchi's team in control.
1,000 metres to go, and our motorbike could only just shake them off the back there because they were going so quickly, but Thor Hushovd is getting himself also into a perfect position here to finish it off for the yellow jersey. And just look at the acceleration here. And there's a move coming up on the inside.
Well, it looks like the acceleration of Tony Martin. Matty Goss there let the gap go, and then all of a sudden it puts the pressure on everybody else to try and close this down. Cavendish is a long way out. But big acceleration.
This could be the move of Ben Swift here, ripping away from the field. They were trying to organise themselves because this is an uphill finish all of the way as they race to the line here. They're slowly being hauled back. They're gritting in the teeth of the maillot jaune. Rojas is out of it in the green jersey. This is going to be a desperately close finish at 300 metres to go. Even Philippe Gilbert on the left is getting it. Now the yellow jersey of Thor Hushovd is slowly but surely. Hushovd is getting on turn here now. Sandy Kassar is trying to get into the middle, and the race is off to the left of our picture as Cavendish comes. This is it. The missile has locked on to Philippe Gilbert. Has he got it on the line? Has he got it? The missile from the Isle of Man has got his first win of the 2011 Tour de France.
Phil, I told you he had the legs here this afternoon. He was a long way down. He lost the lead-out train, but he stayed calm until the last possible moment. He watched them. He knew you had to wait. Great ride by Philippe Gilbert to come up there into 2nd place, and JJ Rojas getting 3rd. Cavendish wants this. You can see by the expression on his face. Not an ideal kind of finish for Mark Cavendish, but when you're a sprinter, when you're a winner, you give it all.
Mark, many congratulations. A thrilling sprint, a really fascinating bunch sprint. Confusing to watch. What was it like to be in?
It wasn't a full-on bunch sprint. Can't do anything, so I just have to get bashed. There's no way I can get them off. So if someone smaller than me does it, I can do it. Someone bigger than me does it, I can't do anything, so I have to drop back. I thought that was my sprint over, but then you can see that the likes of Brad and that were up there. So you can see what type of finish it was. If Brad's going for it, it's a hard finish. He went 500 to go, bearing around the left. I just hit 300. I thought I'll just go to save some point.
And if Cav's happy, we're all happy. There's the order over the line. Cavendish from Philippe Gilbert, Jose Joaquin Rojas and Tony Galopin. Geraint Thomas, whose wheel Mark Cavendish actually came off to take the win, finishing well up again in 5th, ahead of Andre Greipel, Sébastien Hinault and William Bonnet. Thor Hushovd finished 10th, although there was no sign of his Garmin teammate Tyler Farrer. He came in 97th. Cadel Evans was well up in the field, so was Brad Wiggins, despite his early problems. In fact, all the big names finished in the main field on the same time. So, Tour de France stage win number 16 for Mark Cavendish, if you're filling in your wall charts at home. And the news got better when the commissaires finally got back from their lunch and reviewed the intermediate sprint. Mark's gesture of frustration wasn't in vain, because both Jose Joaquin Rojas and Tom Boonen were disqualified for swinging across the road and closing the door on him. Just the morale boost you need when you've limped in 13 minutes down, having ridden half the stage with one teammate for company after crashing, as Boonen did. But at least he was inside the time limit. Brad Wiggins too was among the crashes today.
That was a complicated stage, complicated for you by falls happening around you, change of bikes, all sorts.
Yeah, it was mad. Worst stage so far, so relieved it's over now, but yeah, it was a really, really horrible stage.
That looked nervous and pretty brutal out there today.
Yeah, it was very stressful with the wind, you know. It's everyone thought, you know, next corner we turn is going to be crosswind, so constantly fighting for position, and I loved it though, to be honest. That's what I live for.
One day Geraint's going to ride so hard for the team that he'll keep going and take a stage win. And talking of riding hard, Thor Hushovd did the yellow jersey proud again today. He keeps the lead by the same 1 second over Cadel Evans that he had at the start of the day, unless it's been swapped for a fresh one. And there's no change in the rest of the top 8 either. Schleck the Elder, David Miller, Andreas Klöden, Bradley Wiggins, Geraint Thomas and Edvald Boasson-Hagen. Geraint keeps the white jersey too, and in case you're wondering, with 3 riders in the top 8, Sky are currently 2nd in the team competition behind Garmin. Some minor shuffling of places further down the classification, but no time differences to mention. until you get down among the cycling wounded, of whom Vincent Jérôme is the 195th and last, 33 minutes 57 in arrears. Now, the race organisers surely need to send a memo to the commissaires telling them to get their rulings out sufficiently early not to make a nonsense of the podium presentations. Here's Jose Joaquin Rojas getting the green jersey, and below him you can read the revised standings after his disqualification, showing that in fact Philippe Gilbert will be wearing it tomorrow. Mark Cavendish is up to 4th now on 84 points. So failure on his first sprint opportunity, a stage win on his second. It's turning into a bit of a predictable format for Mark Cavendish in the Tour. Anything but predictable about the way the stage got there, though?
No, it was a fantastic stage. I mean, the irony is that today they had dry conditions. Yesterday it was wet. Nobody fell off yesterday. Today everyone's all over the place. It was full of excitement there. I think everybody got a dose of bad luck today as well, including, unfortunately, Alberto Contador again, and he seems to be dealing with it okay. So, great stage to watch.
And Mark really summed it up well at the end. It wasn't a traditional HTC train, the kind of thing we're used to seeing, but he just used his men to string it out at the front, and then he could take care of himself.
No, it was exactly the right way to use your troops today. I'll look after myself. You just make sure when we hit that last little ramp that we're absolutely full pelt and nobody get a chance to slingshot off a wheel, and that's what Boasson Hagen tried to do, but they weren't going to give him that opportunity. He still made it work, but not by enough to take the stage.
All right, just time to get in the competition before we go. Here it is. Here's your chance to win a weekend for two in Paris to watch the finale of the 2011 Tour de France on the Champs-Élysées. The prize includes travel, 2 nights in a 4-star hotel and £500 spending money. Plus, if you enter any of our 3 competitions during this year's tour, you'll be entered into a second draw to win places for 2, you and a friend, on the Étape du Tour 2012, courtesy of Rafa. We also have an exclusive Rafa special edition Galibier jersey for 10 runners-up. Call 090 4959 6060. Calls cost no more than £1.03 from BT landlines. Calls from other networks may be higher, and from mobiles will be considerably more. Or you can text Paris to 83366. Text costs £1 plus 1 standard network rate message. Red button viewers can enter by pressing their red button now. You can also enter free at itv.com. Entrants must be 18 or over, and lines close at 4 p.m. on the 11th of July 2011. Entries made after closing time will not be counted but may still be charged. The winner of the Weekend in Paris prize will be drawn and contacted on the 14th of July. Right, time for a look at tomorrow's stage now, the longest in the entire tour this year, 226.5 kilometres from Dinan to Ligier. A pretty lumpy one too, with 3 categorised climbs on the route, starting with the Côte de Saint-Michel de Montjoie just on 100 kilometres. The intermediate sprint is at Vassy after 131, and it almost goes without saying by this stage of the race that the finish itself comes after a little climb. Another hard stage. You can see it live as usual from 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have highlights for you at 7 o'clock in the evening. In the meantime, there's always the website if you want extended maps, features, and that's also the place to email us and of course download the podcast. If you want to tweet us, and we'll do our best to answer any tweets that come in, we're ITV Cycling on Twitter. So that's stage 6 tomorrow. Stage 7, incidentally, finishes in Châteauroux, where Mark Cavendish got his first ever stage win in 2008. As things stand, he's currently in 9th position on the all-time Tour stage wins list, with Charles Pélissier, René Legrève and Jacques Anquetil. Not bad company, but don't bet against him moving beyond them as this tour goes on. Good night.
Some people talk about you like they know all about you. When you get down, they doubt you. And when you tip it on the scene, yeah, they talking about it. Cause they can't tip on the scene. What you talking about it? To take it higher. Baby, what were you
You rode great today. You levelled with Jacques Anquetil, which ain't bad. Well done, sir.
Thanks very much.